Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of How to Sell Your Vision. I'm your host, Moti Elkaim, and as always, the goal of this podcast is to do one very simple thing, to share with founders who are in their fundraising process the insight that will allow them to realize their vision in today's market. And to do so, we bring founders who successfully raised funds, and we bring investors who sit on the other side of the table and know what it takes to convince them in order to invest in your company. And today I'm honored to have with me Benjamin Narasin, who is the founder and general partner at Tenacity Ventures, a VC that typically invests in seed companies and occasionally in pre-seed startups as well. Ben, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. These are always fun.
Absolutely. Ben, tell us a bit more about Tenacity.
Sure. So Tenacity Venture Capital, and by the way, if somebody wants to research us, we don't have a website. So we are not the fund out of India, which has the same name apparently. But if you go on my LinkedIn page or directly, Tenacity has a LinkedIn page where we sort of have our profile and the entrepreneurs that talk about what we do for them. So as you pointed out, we're primarily seed, occasionally pre-seed. We write $1 to $3 million checks. We typically try to buy 10 to 20% of a company. We're typically the lead investor. We typically price equity rounds. We occasionally will do safes. We try really hard to explain to an entrepreneur why a safe's not really their best friend if they can get a real lead, even at a pre-seed. There's a lot of benefits over time, and I think it benefits the entrepreneur far more than the investor for them to do an equity round. But at the end of the day, I was an entrepreneur for 25 years. My goal is that the entrepreneurs win. If they win, I win. And so I want what's best for them. And sometimes it takes them a little while to figure that out. But there are about 30 video testimonials from founders talking about how I've helped. And I think if you listen to a couple of them, you'll see that I do really have the entrepreneur's best heart in mind. I say that because, like every entrepreneur will hear from VCs two things. One, it's all about the entrepreneur. Two, I help. Most VCs are full of it on both those counts, but there are a few of us that really legitimately live it to the very core. I mean, I was an entrepreneur for 25 years. I will remain an entrepreneur till the day I die. It's just that I live vicariously through the founders I have as my way of fulfilling that entrepreneurial journey today.
Got it. That's incredible. So I'm sure a lot of the insights you're going to share with us is, aside from your experience as an investor, as you said, you've been on the other side. You've been actually on both sides of the table, and that's a great segue to kind of start with the first question of this session. And here it goes. We'll start with the hard questions first, and then we'll go to the easier one later. Ben, if you'll see a founder right now and he or she are starting their fundraising process, and you could only share one insight with them, one tip, what would that be? What is the most critical thing you want to share with them?
Well, when you use your deck to fundraise, which is how you should fundraise, and you're building it, you need to understand that your job is not to stop when there's nothing left to add. It's to stop when there's nothing left to remove. Great storytelling is critical to fundraising, and concise storytelling is the best type. It is much harder to write short than it is to write long. I was a freelance writer for a long time, about 10 years. And a lot of what I've learned in deck prep came from the tips I got from a professional writing coach. So it's, like the one tip, shorter. It's not your job. Literally, the one thing I say to almost every entrepreneur I've ever worked with on their deck, and I've helped many decks change from a pass to a fundable situation. I've got specific examples of that. It's not your job to stop when there's nothing left to add. It's your job to stop when there's nothing left to remove. Everything in your deck has to earn its place. Anything in there that can be removed should be.
I love this. First of all, that's the first time I hear someone phrase it this way. I used to say it in a different way, but I actually love the way you are phrasing it better.
I stole that, by the way, from my writing coach who said that to me about writing. There's a very famous quote. I think it was it was Mark Twain. Somebody. He said, "I'm sorry this letter is so long. I didn't have time to write you a short one." It is so much harder. But that editing, that's where you gain strength. You gain strength from focus in your deck, just like you gain strength from focus in your business.
I love it. I love it. I work with a lot of founders, and one of the key things that I'm telling them is that, look, your deck is not there to answer all the questions. Just your deck is there to make the investor want to ask questions.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. It took me a while to evolve to that particular point to help people understand. What I would always say is, look, you're trying to write a book in your deck is usually what I see. That is the wrong answer. Your deck is just the table of contents. You're the book. Your deck is just a navigational aid for you to tell the story. And later, what I realized I could say to help them, because look, a lot of entrepreneurs are engineers and they're very, A goes to B goes to C, if then blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's like you want to leave things unsaid so they can ask you and you can respond, because it's about building that relationship. But, there's another, there's never just one thing. Like, one of the tricky parts for our entrepreneurs is they build a deck. And not only do they build it as the whole damn book, because they think they're going to send it. Don't send the deck. Okay. If I get you an introduction or any trusted source gets you an introduction, your job is to get into the meeting. Okay. Sending a deck in advance is just going to screw that up. Maybe they decide this is not something they're interested in. They're not going to have you to give the color. A great deck for presenting is a terrible deck for sending. If they insist, no problem. I'm working on it. It's almost done. I'll have it to you before the meeting. And you give it to them an hour before the meeting. You keep your promise, but you don't give them time to screw you up.
Yes.
But, like, you telling the story is the critical piece. Now, one of the challenges I see with a lot of engineers who are entrepreneurs, not always just engineers, they built it and it's their plan and they know where it wants to go. And they start pitching. They pitch slide 1, they pitch slide 2, and they go to slide 3 and the investor says, wait, I have a question. Gets all grumpy going back. No, it's the best possible thing.
Absolutely.
If your investor wants to ask you questions, you stop. The way I put it is, if an investor asks you a question, that's a yellow light. It means slow down, focus on the point. If they ask you the same question twice, that's a blinking red light. You do not move until you've gotten past that question, because what they're saying to you is, I have an issue you have not addressed and I need you to address it, or I will not be able to pay attention. Right?
Phenomenal.
Here's another tip for shortening decks. Take your deck out, start a timer on your phone, see how long it takes you to read that page. 100% of those seconds are seconds that the person is not paying attention to you because they're reading. If they're reading, they can't pay attention to you. The less you have on the screen, the more time they can spend on you. And that's what you want. You want that engagement. It's not like you should just say, so little that it's cryptic, but it's an anchor. It's a synopsis. It's not even the Cliff Notes in the days when Cliff Notes were a thing. I guess for this generation, it's Spark Notes. It's the table of contents. Yes, I understand that you're now going to tell me about team. Look, a great deck. Who are you? Team. What are you doing? Tell me about the business. Who are you doing it for? Clients. How's it going so far? How are you pricing it? How's it going so far? It's not the heart of a great deck, and a great story is a very small number of key critical points, or the 5 W's as they call it in writing. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. That was a very long.
No, that's actually, I'm fascinated by everything that you're saying and the way you're positioning it. It's absolutely brilliant. And you touched upon a very important point. You said, look, the deck you're sending and the deck you're presenting are two different decks.
Well, I just don't want you to send a deck. When my entrepreneurs are like, should I send them a deck? I'm like, not if I got you the intro. I used up 18 years of credibility to get you this introduction. Don't screw it up. Okay. Right. I'll tell you a quick story. I was working in a fund. There was 4 GPs, myself and 3 others. And I had a company I was excited about. And by the way, here's a tip. If you've made a presentation and the next step does not involve another human being by name, it's a pass. Okay. Send me the deck. Pass. Let me talk to my partners about it on Monday. Pass. Let me think about it and get back to you. Pass. The only thing that's not a pass is, you know what? I'd like to get some more people involved. Okay, great. Who? So anyway, I said, hey, I'd like to get these people involved. Let me reach out to this guy. And I reached out to him. I said, hey, I want you to see this company. Send me the deck. Well, I think the guy should just come in and present. Ben, if you don't have him send me the deck, I'm not going to come to the meeting. Really? Such a dick. I mean, come on, man. You don't trust that I have a filter? I see 8,000 companies 2 years ago. I fund 3. Huh. Okay, I'm sure you're pickier than me. Fine. Send him the deck. He takes the meeting. Literally every question he asks is wrong. I'm like, okay, dude, you don't understand what this guy does. You know, every VC is or believes themselves to be smart. So they want to understand what you do. So they go in. Some people think of it as being prepared. Whatever. Why should I do the work twice is the way I look at it. You send me a deck. I'm not looking at it. If you are presenting to me Now, there are times when I do ask for a deck. You send me some cold email over LinkedIn and I read it. By the way, my LinkedIn profile is very specific on what I'm expecting from you. So if you follow that rule, I'll always answer you. And if you don't, I'll send you a note saying you didn't follow the rule and pointing back to it. But maybe there's enough to get me intrigued, but not enough for me to know the answer, which is what will be true if you follow my rule, by the way. So I'll say, hey, send me a deck. And that's going to definitely help me decide whether I want to take the meeting. But if you already have the meeting, if I've given you a meeting or if I've gotten you a meeting, I don't read decks because I don't want to do the work twice. I can't see thousands of pitches a year and double it. And if I got you the meeting, then, let's not mess it up. Make sure you tell your authentic story. Make sure it's interactive. Make sure they can ask questions. They will misunderstand what you have written, no matter what. That's just the nature of humans.
And decks, typically because founders want to put in so much in the deck, right? They think that the more the merrier. It's absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
What you're actually doing is that you're creating barriers for consumptions. That's the way I call it.
Yeah.
If you're putting your ask, I want $10 million, good. You just give them a reason to say no. If whatever it is you're saying is that, you need to create appetite and not to satisfy it yet.
Well, you're hitting on a really key point. What entrepreneurs misunderstand, one, they do try to put everything in, like the entire kitchen and the kitchen sink and every ingredient and every pan and every tool, as if I've got the time or interest in cooking a meal. I don't. Just tell me we're having pizza. Great. I'm a meat eater. Is it a meat lover's pizza? It's a meat lover's pizza. Awesome. I don't need to know about the flour. I don't need to know about where the sausage was ground up. None of that. Your first meeting, not the sending of the deck, is just getting the hook in the mouth. Okay?
Yeah.
It's just grabbing their attention. You cannot do the whole job. You are not getting funded in a meeting. You are getting a second meeting.
Right.
The purpose of any meeting, first meeting, is to get the second meeting. And if you're not getting the second meeting, it's a pass. So, it's binary. We're all in the frog kissing game. I kiss frogs when I'm talking to LPs. You kiss frogs as an entrepreneur when you're talking to VCs. We both have to go out and raise money at some points. Right. And when you do, it's useful to be able to cross people off the list. I had this conversation with a guy I was pitching. Somebody introduced me. He was sort of, I don't know, I didn't find him that enjoyable. But at the end, he showed a general interest, but nothing specific. And so in the end, I said, hey, is this an opportunity you see as being appropriate for you to invest in? Whether we get there or not, would this be something you could fund? No. Okay, thanks. Cross you off the list. I'm out. I did say why, and tell me a little bit more. Blah 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 blah. I said, well, we only do X. And I said, well, we sort of do X.
It's over at the end of the day.
Yeah. Like ask. You don't. It's not always be closing and like, I want $10 million. Can you give it to me? It's, would this be a round you could do? If everything aligned, if you saw the right things in the team and the company and the opportunity, is this the type of round you can fund? Because the answer could easily be no for many reasons that have nothing to do with you. You're raising $10 million. I write $1 to $3 million checks. If you send me a deck for Series A or an outreach for Series A raising $10 million, you clearly did no research at all. I mean, there's hundreds of pieces of content out there from me. I've never said anything different. I mean, when I was NEA, yes, I could do A's and B's and C's, but net at Tenacity, I do C. Don't send me something about how you're all excited about including me in this very exciting opportunity for your pre-IPO $50 million round. Good for you, okay? Not a fit. And you've just clearly defined that you did absolutely no work other than going into Sales Navigator and typing in investor. So you can, when you choose not to do the work, when you choose to be lazy, you're just going to screw yourself. You're going to cost yourself that very critical first impression.
Yeah.
Remember my...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, you remember I said I have the one rule? My LinkedIn page literally says, Ben Narasin, general partner, founder, Tenacity Venture Capital. Send me your elevator pitch. Send me your one-line elevator pitch and ARR. I read all, period. I do not invest in crypto, security, or medtech. Half of what I get is, hey, as a crypto investor, you'd be excited in, and then it's 8 paragraphs. That's somebody that typed crypto into their Sales Navigator and said, aha. They never even looked. And so, yes, I send them back a picture with a circle around it to say, really? But, all they're doing is wasting my time. I wake up 500 emails behind and, 80 LinkedIn inbounds. Like, I don't have time for this. You're certainly not setting yourself to win. Oh, and then Some people are pretty good about it. They laugh. Oh, you got me. Yeah, I should clearly, ha, 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 or, as my sales navigator. But some people get all snippy. I'm like, wait, I'm pretty sure you have sent an unsolicited note. You sent junk mail to my mailbox. I went out to my mailbox. I got that junk mail. I brought it inside. I opened your junk mail letter and I read it and I responded that it wasn't a fit. And you're upset with me? You're asking me to do you a favor? And anyway, generally, life's long. I try to be nice, but I'm just not that interested in people wasting my time.
It makes sense. It makes sense. And I think going back to wasting your time and speaking about the importance of storytelling in the first pitch, I love what you said, because you're not going to close the deal in the first pitch. This is just the opener. But speaking about, the interest of time and the purpose of the first meeting, to my opinion, and I agree with what you said, the purpose of a good story is to allow the partner you're investing to tell that story easily to the other partners.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. This is something I think
It's a
most people
collaborative
miss.
decision, right? I need to be able
You're
to sell
building
you.
an advocate for you. You
Exactly.
have to give a clear enough and simple enough. So I'll give you another example. Somebody sends me in this 10 paragraph thing and I send them a circle, 1-line elevator pitch. Oh, I can't do it in 1 line. It's too complicated. Really? When I worked at NEA, we had a Nobel Prize winner. I came back to him after having visited a nuclear fusion facility. And I said, well, I don't know if that thing's real or just a sci-fi setup. I mean, but I'm sure it's real. I couldn't tell. I don't even know how fusion works. He took a Post-it note, drew a doodle and said, that's how fusion works. If somebody can explain fusion to me on a Post-it note, you can explain your fascinating idea in simple terms. Einstein said, if you can't explain something complex simply, you don't understand it well enough. Right. Don't blame me, blame yourself. Figure out how to say it in an elevator pitch so someone can understand it. Because, exact point you made, you're empowering somebody to go back without your lifetime experience and depth in this field and advocate for you. I want you to meet Ben. Why? Ben runs a seed fund in the United States that invests in North America and LATAM. He's got phenomenal returns in the back, 18 years. Okay, fine. Now, there's a lot more to be said, but I think that pretty much summarizes what I do, where I do it, and the background has been positive. So, it's incumbent on you to create. I'm often saying, the old saying, keep it simple, stupid. The people aren't stupid. They're just not experts in your domain necessarily.
Right.
And so when you're pitching, you need to make sure they can convey the message. And the game of telephone is tragic. So when you keep it simple, it allows them to sort of try to retain it. And last point I'll make on this, people hear what they want to hear, not necessarily what you say. It's like when I'm raising money and I say to people, you should understand, I've had a phenomenal background in terms of my return. My returns have been, I've been told, quite good. I'm still investing risk capital. Okay. Every investment we make, we risk losing all our money. And these are seed deals. I used to tell people it's 7 to 10 years to liquidity. Now it's more like 10 to 15. There's no liquidity for you for a decade, and there's no right of rescission. So don't come to me 4 years from now and say, oh, I need money for a house. Your money's gone. The entrepreneurs have it. Good luck getting them to give it back to you, because they're not going to. So 10 years before liquidity. And yet I still get LPs that sometimes reach out and say, hey, are we going to see liquidity this year? I'm like, we're in year 4, right? Yeah, but I was just thinking it might be time for liquidity. Like, you forgot the 10-year thing? Because I say it every single time. Oh, yeah, but I thought maybe it'd be sooner. It's not that they didn't hear me. It's that they decided to have their own overlay of, yeah, but sometimes these things blow up really quickly and then you get, massive outcomes really quickly, and maybe that could happen. Yeah, maybe. Lotteries get won, but that's not the game I'm in.
And I read on your LinkedIn, and you noted it a bit in our conversation, that you're seeing it around 5,000 pitches or decks or whatever it is a year, and you're choosing roughly between 6 to 9.
It's been less lately. 2 years ago, we saw 8,000 pitches and funded 3. Last year, we brought it way down to like sort of a 2,000 pitches and once again funded 3.
So what is the common thread? And we spoke about, picking the interest, keeping it narrow, focused, make the investor want to ask questions. But if you'll have to pick, some more trends in those winning 3.
Yeah, look, I always say I need 5 things to make an investment. People, great idea, huge market. So I was an entrepreneur for 25 years. I think, there's a reason I named the fund Tenacity. Tenacity is one of the only secrets to entrepreneurial success. Brilliance is assumed, or I wouldn't have funded you. Great idea assumed, or I wouldn't have funded you. I just said it as my fourth point. Big market assumed, or I wouldn't have funded you. The difference between success and failure often boils down to how much pain the entrepreneur is able to suffer. And there's a lot of people that one of my friends called wantrepreneurs, W-A-N, wantrepreneur, that read about it in TechCrunch. Oh, I could do that. Oh, I'm as smart as that guy. That's not what it's about. Okay, ideas are worthless. Execution is priceless. You need someone that can get it done. So first and foremost, I need to be excited about that human being. And in some ways, there's just not much you can do about that. You're either that person or you're not. You're either brilliant, driven, tenacious, hardworking, big vision, or you're going to pretend you are after you watch this podcast. But I'm pretty sure I can sniff that out. I mean, you know, 25 years as a founder, you're not going to bullshit me on what it takes to be a founder, man. I've been there. I know how hard that journey is. And, you know, at this point, 18 years in, God, I must have seen, it probably averages out to 5,000 a year. So even if you cut it in half, you know, we're closing in on 50,000 pitches. Good luck. You know, one of the things I have seen, by the way, good luck because it's a low conversion rate, but also good luck in trying to fake it. VCs are extremely sensitive to being gamed. And it's interesting because it's like, I don't know. It's as if someone that's never acted in their life wants to go in and try out for a part in a Martin Scorsese movie. And they think they'll just be able to bullshit their way through the process. It's like, I'm pretty sure he's one of the best in the world. And I'm pretty sure you've never acted before. So he's going to figure that out really, really quickly. Do not try to play PhD games as a freshman. Okay, all you're gonna do is prove yourself to be the person that somebody's afraid you are when you walk through the door.
This is phenomenal. We are reaching the end of our session, and I gotta tell you, I'm genuinely speaking, this is probably one of the most fascinating sessions I've ever had in terms of the energy, the insight. Super powerful.
And yet, you know, it's funny because I appreciate it. It's a very kind comment. I've heard it from multiple people, interestingly, and I'm always like, but I'm just me. But here's the thing that I find fascinating. All I'm really doing is being transparent and honest. So somebody actually wrote a book, Radical Candor. And I was like, you want people to tell the truth? That's it? That's a book? Give me a break. I mean, no disrespect, but you read the cover, you've read the book. Okay. Right. Honesty is a very simple but extraordinarily rare concept. And if you take the combination of honesty and experience, sometimes you can deliver wisdom. And the difference between intelligence and wisdom is one of the great missing pieces in life because so few people actually get that being intelligent doesn't necessarily mean you're wise. But as a D&D'er, I know they're two different character scores. So
that's phenomenal. Listen, Ben, I'm blown away here. I'm really blown away. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your insights. I'm sure that all of you founders who are listening to this are gaining a lot. And listen to this once, listen to this twice, because this is probably the most valuable insight I've heard about decks and the way you should pitch yourself. And I encourage everyone, as Ben said here in the session, reach out to him on LinkedIn, but follow the rules.
There you go. There you go. Because at least I'll know you did. I usually it's so rare, I actually say, thank you for following my format. But it's still, you know, it doesn't mean it's a fit. I'm not taking the meeting just because they follow the format. But at the end of the day, it certainly makes both our lives easier. As a closing point I'll make, the best thing you can have from an investor is legitimate interest. The second best thing you can have from an investor is an honest and precise pass, hopefully with some feedback. But there is no benefit to keeping somebody on your list that isn't going to fund you, which is why I spend a lot of time with my founders trying to help them understand what passes really look like. They're like, well, so-and-so said he was interested. Really? What did he say he'd do next? He said he'd bring it up to the partners on Monday. Yeah, that's a pass. Well, should we wait? Well, how long ago was it? 3 weeks ago. Yeah, that's a pass. Well, you know, shouldn't we reach out? Yeah, go ahead. Here's what you should say. Dear Bob, I know you said you wanted to bring this to your partners 3 weeks ago on a Monday. I'm concerned that maybe you were hit by a bus and are hospitalized and were not able to do that. If that is the case, please let me know so we can wait some more for you to give me an effing response. Otherwise, I'll assume it's a pass and stop wasting my time. Now, you'll say it in a much nicer way. And of course, they sent the note. And of course, he's like, oh, sorry, it's not a fit. It's not a fit is a general catch-all for it's a pass. And that's fine. It would be nice to get some more feedback. I try to give people specific feedback, but sometimes you send me a line and I say it's not a fit. That's probably all you're going to get from me.
Yeah.
But you'll know, okay, not Ben.
Phenomenal.
Or send me the deck.
Exactly. If you have to read between the lines, it means you didn't get the line. You didn't get the bottom line. Yeah.
If it's not another step forward.
Yeah.
And a step forward with a human being. In a cold look, it's perfectly okay to send out cold emails on LinkedIn or however you want to do it. Just like, so I'll give you a last point. So I've tried to practice what I preach. My son is a movie maker. He's made one film I didn't like at all and one that's phenomenal. It's won a bunch. It won like LA Film Festival, Best Short, and he's been in so many film festivals. He's doing a great job. And he got an introduction to a super important person. And he said, I want to write them a note. And you go, can you help me with it? It's like, yes. And he read this 8, 9, 10 line note. I'm like, okay, no, it's way too long. Well, I don't want to be too short. That seems rude. Okay, Grant, the guy runs a major studio. Okay, I'm busy. He's busier. The greatest respect you can give him is a concise and short note. So we took the first 3 lines, we turned them into one nice clean line. We got it down to 3 lines. It was respectful. It asked for what it needed. It made its point. I would argue the chance that that gets read is higher than when it's multi-level, and the chance that it gets responded to is at least decent. My writing coach said to me something that will be my closing point for you. He said, when you're writing a story, your first line buys you the right for someone to read your second line. Your second line buys you the right for them to finish the paragraph, and your first paragraph buys you the right to get the second paragraph read. After that, you can loosen up a little bit. But if you're not grabbing them, it was a dark and stormy night. Doesn't work anymore. Okay. So you've got to get the hook in, which is why, if you want to know my deck analogy in terms of the cover page is critical. It only has 3 things on it: your logo, your company name, and your elevator pitch. And it goes on the screen the minute you sit into a conference room. So when people walk in, they can see it. And this is good for you too. Let's say your thing says, I do XYZ. And I'm like, I have a direct competitor for that. Are you sure you want to pitch me? Do you directly compete? Do you invest in other competitors? I never have. Okay, maybe not. Thank you for being honest. Let me go. But just that's my ramble for the day. I appreciate you having me on. It was a lot of fun.
It was a pleasure. A lot of fun on my end as well. Thank you so much, Ben.